And as a partner, it would be really great if you can learn to appreciate and share in that joy your partner experiences when they are with their family. If it's important to your partner, you have a responsibility to respect it at a minimum and to enjoy it with them, ideally.
Hey there, lady. My name is Molly Conley, and I'm devoted to helping women reinvent their love lives, whether that's after divorce, dating on and off the apps, or in their committed relationship. Why? Because I've been there. I'm a former college athlete who filed for divorce 3 years into marriage, swam in the online dating pool into my late 30s, and now I am married to the man of my spreadsheet dreams who I met 4 months before the world shut down. As a dating and relationship coach, I help my clients shift the focus from being obsessed with finding Mr. Right to shifting to herself as Miss Right Now. We build a foundation filled with clarity, connection, and confidence, knowing she is worth waiting for. Each week on the podcast, I'll bring you love life insights and savvy guests, where you will receive the courage to release programmed, limiting beliefs. Discover patterns and behaviors restricting you from finding and attracting quality men, and ways to choose yourself first so you can build a foundation for a healthy relationship with yourself and a partner. Hey there, lady. Welcome back to another episode of Reinventing the Arena. I am so thrilled that you are here, and if this is your first time joining, welcome. My guest today is not only an ICF Professional Certified Coach, a certified confidence coach, speaker, author, and joy-filled life advocate, but a former coach of mine. Christine Conte specializes in women's empowerment, boundary setting, mother and daughter relationships, divorce, and single parenting coaching. She is known for her high positive energy, inspirational messaging, grounded grace, and passion to help her clients love their life. Her desire is for her clients to know their own who, what, why, and how, fulfilling their purpose and to live life fully. Welcome to the podcast, Christine.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, of course. And I knew that I had to have you on. Obviously, I had the most amazing opportunity to have you as my coach to help me work through some of those family dynamics and family relationships, which is why, like I said, I had to have you on the podcast in the first place. Will you share part of your story and how it led you to coaching women on these variety of topics and areas of their lives?
Sure. I'd be happy to. So I guess I'll start with the year I stumbled into coaching and what was going on with me that year. It was 2017. It was a very challenging transition year for me. I had lost my job due to a layoff, which was actually a blessing I was hoping would happen. Both of my children empty nested within 6 months of each other that year. And I went through the change that women of a certain age experience. Within 6 months, all of those changes happened in my life. And so, you can kind of look at it as all of my labels fell away. My VP title, my day-to-day being a mom, and my youth to a large extent. Now, I could have dug a hole and crawled in, and let me tell you, there were days when that crossed my mind. But at the end of the day, that's not how I roll. It's not who I am. So instead, I took those changes that had occurred in my life as a sign of freedom, really, and a signal to charge ahead. As I was trying to determine my path forward, coaching came across my radar. I knew nothing about coaching. I thought coaching was for sports only, But I did some research and I enrolled in what I believe is considered to be by many the top coaching school in the world, which is IPEC, which I know you graduated from as well. I absolutely loved it. The philosophy and underlying method was in complete alignment with what I already believed in. And so within a few months, I created my business, Christine Conte Coaching. I got my first paying client, and again, I charged forward. So, as you mentioned, I help empower women through challenging life transitions, like the ones that I've been through in my life, particularly divorce and single parenting, but really in any areas involving, those difficulties, particularly with relationships, because at the end, everything comes down to relationships, even the relationship you have with yourself.
Oh, yes, 100%. I completely agree. And I think that's the biggest relationship we need to have, right? Is the one where we have that relationship to self.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. I
and
mean,
how,
at the end of every day and at the end of your life, your relationship with yourself matters
right,
tremendously. I have, uh, I mean, it can be seen as being incredibly independent. It can be seen as being self-reliant. There are lots of labels that are put on it, but I think really it's just about having that sense of self, and we can call it self-love, not egotistical self-love, but truly a love of self, in that knowing that you are there for you,
right,
always there for yourself. And however you define love to be, we can get into love languages and such, but um, that you be that for yourself.
right. Because at the end of the day, like, you know how you moved forward in your life. Like, you have to be your biggest advocate for the things that you want in your life, everything from career to romance to just even how you would want to have that connection, even with your kids. And obviously, I don't have
Yeah,
kids, but being your biggest advocate to the life that you dream, which is exactly what you talk about in all those different areas of your life.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Relationships are so key. I remember, I'll just throw this in. When I was graduating college, I asked my dad, who I was extremely close with growing up. I asked him, I said, Dad, any advice that you have for me as I start this career, which was a very different career, I might add, from coaching. Um, and he said, the key to your success in your career is how well you get along with others. And I extrapolate that in life coaching. It is absolutely true. The key to your success in life is really about how well you get along with other people. Um, I think it can kind of just be boiled down to that, and how well you get along with yourself as well.
Oh yeah. I even feel like right now I'm thinking about some of the things where the past relationships I've had, friendships, whatnot, I could even say is that when you've been around other people that might have not necessarily been the happiest sort of people, or, they may have been in a bad mood, it kind of affects you and it can affect that relationship. And sometimes, it doesn't allow that relationship to continue, like the energetics of it. And
Yeah,
it affects not just you and your relationship, but it can affect the other ones around you.
yeah.
We, as being IPEC coaches, have worked through some of those energy dynamics. I know that this wasn't one that I wanted to ask you about, but now I'm thinking about it. How, when you work with women, to help them feel empowered, how do you help them move energetically in order to have that connection to self?
Well, what I have found, Molly, is, and I don't know how um, well versed in IPAC language your listeners are, but when you and I speak of the different energy levels, we understand one another. So
Right.
what I have found And please comment and tell me if you feel this is true for you as well with your clients. From an energetic perspective, I find that, when we look at our stress reaction
Mm.
for women, there's a lot of level one happening, not as much level two.
I can see that.
And right. And you can kind of, if we look at historically women's roles and how women, I mean, we can get into a whole thing here. Um, Historically, women's roles and how women are, seen in sort of, at least in Western society, we can understand how level one would be our sort of default or our go-to in those moments of, stress. And stressors can be anything that cause us to kind of drop in our energetic levels. Um, and if you look at men, when under stress, I think more often than not, again, you can chime in on this, what you've seen, men tend to go to level two,
Oh, yeah.
right? So energetically, level two being arguably, I mean, one could, right? We could have this debate, theoretically, arguably, higher in energy levels than level one. So, one of the things that I have found in coaching women is how incredibly uncomfortable women tend to be with level two energy.
I definitely agree with that. And then for any listener that has never listened or to any of the energy level things that I've discussed before in past podcasts, level one is victim. Like
Yep.
you're not playing the victim, but you're in victim energy. Why is it always
Yep.
my fault? Level two is anger. And
Yep.
they're totally opposite of each other, but there's a reason why for that.
Yep.
But you bring up a really good point. Whether we realize it or not, we do have that victim mindset probably more often than not in gender. And for
Yep.
men, it is very easy to fall into the anger during stress. So
Yep.
yeah, I completely agree about that.
Yeah. So I think, I have a theory about this. I'm actually writing about this. I've got a couple of books going, but this is one of my chapters that I'm writing about, is that, women are taught to be victims. We're taught to
Yes.
self-loathe, and we are taught that it's our fault. So no wonder we drop to that energy level. And men, more often than not, when we're young children, at least I'm going to say, men born in 20th century, right,
Mm-hmm.
aren't really taught to get in contact with their emotions other than anger. Like, anger's okay. You can be angry at other people. We want you to fight for yourself. We want you to be able to defend yourself and so on and so forth. So men, I think, get very comfortable with conflict energy. So one of the things that I try to help women get comfortable with is level two energy.
Right. We're allowed to be angry.
You're allowed to be angry. It's okay. It's an emotion. It's actually a valid emotion for women too. It's not one that we often tap into. And when we do, it's for very specific people in our life.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so to get comfortable with that level of energy, and because it is something that we are not comfortable with, we tend to want to get out of that quickly, right? We're so uncomfortable with it. And here comes level three. Right? So it's not a rule. It's not a formula. It's never a formula. Every client is completely different. But you asked the question, it's something I've been writing about recently. So I thought that that might be something to chew on a little bit, something to think about.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like, well, first of all, I can't wait for this. What is this going to be coming out as a book or like an article?
Theoretically a book.
Woo! Yay, I'm excited.
Yeah, I have been writing for several years, and in all of the writing, what I found is 3 to 4 books are coming out of all of the writing that I have done. Unfortunately, I am just creating these concepts and this content. I'm more of in the book world, more of a quilter.
Mm.
And I'm writing, and I will patch it together at the end to create these books. But I'm thinking there's definitely 3, potentially 4 books that will come out of all of the writing that I have been doing.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic. And just as a
yeah.
side note, if you ever need someone to read it and put a review, you know that you can ask me because I
Oh,
will
thank you so much.
love to read.
Oh, thank you
This
so
is how much
much.
I love Christine for those that are listening. Like Christine's really helped me, which we're going to discuss in a little bit. Maybe we'll bring it up with some of the things that we're going to focus on today that I can only imagine the amount of experience and knowledge, wisdom that you have to put into a book that I cannot wait to learn and to even just grasp some different concepts from someone like you. So they're not necessarily different, but like
Thank
I
you
can
so
only
much.
imagine what they might
Thank
be
you so
like.
much. So sweet. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're wonderful.
And you know, this is what I'm thinking. So since you helped me with some of my past, so like I'm just going to mention this a little bit because some of the ladies know that listen that I was previously married. And you know, my divorce was pretty simple for what I went through, the reasoning why. But you know, I also had some issues back then with my in-laws, which you know showed up when you and I were coaching together. Because it would come into now my new in-laws. Like there would be things that would just transfer over because I didn't
Mhm.
realize I hadn't worked on some stuff, which
Yep.
that's extremely common, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but with the holidays approaching, I feel like
Sure.
a lot of women, no matter what, are going to be going through some different feelings because of the holidays and the stress. So, what are some of the ways that you, or some of the things that you can do to help navigate the time spent with family when there are difficult family dynamics at play?
Sure. Sure. It's a great question. So there are lots of ways you can make your time with family a little easier for yourself, and ultimately for them as well. I'll share a few that I helped coach a client to develop and use. So, first, it's important to decide ahead of time how you want to show up. So, decide the energy you're going to bring with you and within you. What's going to be within you, and what are you going to exude when you show up? This is about like deciding on your mindset, and you want to set an intention of how you want that time together to be. Um, you can even set a reminder uh, on your phone during your visit to help you remember that intention. Or you can even use it as like your background on your screen,
Mm-hmm.
your phone screen. Um, and finally, just like breathe through it, right? Don't be giving off heavy sighs in the corner type of breathing, but breathe softly through those moments that present as being challenging to you. Something else you can do is try to just plan ahead. Have a polite, what I call an escape plan prepared where you can like drift off to your assigned bedroom for a few minutes or to the bathroom or outdoors for a breath of fresh air or a short walk. In more difficult situations, maybe offer to step out to buy more ice or whatever's running low to get away from that situation for a bit. Um, Again, you can set reminders in the form of alarms or appointments on your phone for various times of the day or night to give you like a polite out
Mhm.
if needed. And when that notification rings, you can step away if you need to, as if you're like taking an important call, for example, or snooze it for a few minutes, or delete it if things are going really well. Another thing to consider is to have a breakaway buddy
Mm.
to divert your attention to escape with, or to engage in a one on one conversation to get away from that group dynamic for a few minutes if you need to. You can even create a signal with your breakaway buddy ahead of time so that you're on the same page and they can come to your aid when you give that signal and vice versa. And this breakaway buddy could be your partner, or it could be another member of the family who might be experiencing some of the same challenges that you are in that family dynamic.
Oh yeah. And I'm going to
You,
tell people like this stuff really works because you helped me do this.
yeah, yeah, it
And
does really work.
it
You can,
does.
I thought of another. So you can also create a list of affirmations ahead of time
Mm.
that you can refer to throughout your visit, like affirmations, just so everyone's on the same page. I'm sure everyone understands, but just to be clear, they're positive thoughts and beliefs in the form of messages we read or things we say to ourselves to help us reaffirm the essence of who we are, right? So you can set this as your phone background again, or tuck the list into your purse or your pocket, or pull it out whenever you're starting to feel that you're losing yourself in the chaos. And finally, one last tip is to come prepared with maybe 3 to 5 safe topics to discuss with various family members of the family. So the intention here is to connect with family through conversation and experiences, to create favorable memories, and to learn and grow those relationships. So sticking to safe topics, um, to avoid introducing or perpetuating turmoil in the family dynamic is a good idea.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I feel like the very first one, like setting the intention on how you want to show up,
Mhm.
that is critical to the success of that event, that day,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And I loved how you had said prepared questions. So, like for me, for example, in the past, I would be so anxious about a family get together that I didn't even have questions. I was just like, when they say this, it makes me feel that. Or if they bring this up again, how am I going to handle it? Versus saying, I'm in control of the questions I can ask, how I participate in this conversation, how I participate in this relationship dynamic.
Yeah.
So coming prepared with questions, saying like, okay, well, instead of asking about work, I can say like, how have you been spending your weekends lately? Like just trying to maybe deviate away from things that already cause
Yeah.
people stress, you know?
Yeah.
Finding those balanced questions, just even to get to know people a little bit more on a deeper level. So
Yeah.
I appreciate all those. And yes, like I said, they do work because you helped me do that like
Yeah.
twice
Yeah.
for
Thank
sure. Like going into
you.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Woo, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, probably one of the safest, most, sort of middle of the road topic, especially around the holidays. Let's say you are visiting in laws or visiting your own family. I mean, listen, we don't, this is not to bash in laws, right? This is our own families can be challenging
Uh-huh.
as
For
well,
sure.
right? So just to say, hey, how did you, this was delicious. How did you make that? Talk about food.
Mhm.
Food is a topic that very few people get upset over. Like, I don't know anybody who gets upset over food. So, just again, find safe topics. Avoid, the standards, politics, religion, uh, you know, how kids are raised, just like let's stick to safe topics.
Oh
And
yeah.
food is always the number one go to. And you throw in a compliment in there as well. I mean, be genuine, right? If it didn't taste good, don't talk about it. But if you had something that was delicious, and my gosh, that was delicious. How did you make that? I'd love to get that recipe. And it
Oh yeah.
can generate a whole conversation with someone who, maybe was difficult to have a conversation with in the past. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I love cooking. So yes, when anybody asks me that question, I get really excited and decide to dive fully into it and even say like, this is a family recipe. And then we tweaked it here. Like it just
Yeah.
goes off onto even more questions and more in-depth
Yeah.
information. But
Sure.
I like that.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
It
you're
can,
good.
it can, it can even spark a conversation around starting a tradition, right? And families love tradition. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if someone says, "Yeah, I make this every year," it's getting a little difficult for me. It takes a lot of time. This is an opportunity to say, "Well, if you taught me, like maybe I could start making it and continue that tradition for the family." Ding, 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 like you just got points. So, yeah, just a quick thought.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. And you did bring up in-laws, but like what are some important things to remember when we're dealing with our in-laws or not, maybe not dealing is not the best word, but like communicating, being
Yeah,
around with our in-laws in particular.
yeah. So I guess I can just kind of summarize it with this. Remember the three R's: respect, respect, and respect. Respect for your partner's family, respect for your partner, and respect for yourself.
Mm.
So first, let's talk about respect for your partner's family. So, your partner's family, these are people too. They are flawed, faulty, silly, weird, and just probably as nervous and uncomfortable as maybe you might be, right? Your partner came from them. So, assuming you love your partner, then there is something about these people worth knowing, worth appreciating, and certainly worth respecting. It's about taking in the moments with them and making an effort to learn and value what they bring to the table. So the second respect is, let's talk about respect for your partner. So your partner's relationship with their family probably isn't anything like your relationship with your family. Families are different, and therefore the dynamics are different. They are as unique as the people involved, right? So your partner's family is in their life for a reason. You may not understand it. Your partner may not understand it, even if these are, if these are really difficult people. But your partner chooses to keep these people close, or at least somewhat close, because of their bond, their love, their respect for their family, their childhood memories, cherished family traditions, or whatever their reasons may be. And as a partner, it would be really great if you can learn to appreciate and share in that joy your partner experiences when they are with their family. If it's important to your partner, you have a responsibility to respect it at a minimum and to enjoy it with them ideally. And so finally, the third R is respect for yourself. So don't lose or change who you are in order to please the people around you, including your partner and your in laws. It's not your job to be liked per their definition of who they think you are supposed to be. It's your job to be true to who you are, but to do so respectfully. So I'm going to give you a silly example, okay? So, for example, if you're someone who spits peanut shells on the floor, right, and you're visiting your in law's home and they don't like that, right, then respect their house rules and don't do that, right? Conversely, if they are people who say, let's say, get drunk and tell inappropriate jokes, and that's not who you are or how you would ever behave, don't compromise your values. right?
Mhm.
Find a way to excuse yourself from that agenda item. If they like you for who you are, that's great. If they don't, then at least you can use that information to prepare yourself next time and
Mm.
going forward. Okay. So not all people in a family like each other, and not all are going to get along, even within the families. Um, Mutual respect can be enough in those situations. And remember not to put your partner in the middle or force your partner to choose. Don't play that game. You might not be happy with those results.
Yeah, I definitely understand all of those. Those have been some very unique situations for me in my past marriage. So definitely understand all of those and how mostly to respect yourself because a lot of women, as you probably know, fall into that people pleasing trap. And then when you get into the point of really holding your authentic self, then the person that you've been in front of, those other people, the in-laws, the other family members, have no idea who you really are. And when you show up, it's kind of shocking to
Yep.
them. So it causes a whole new level of, getting to
Yep.
know you all over again.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but what do you think is like from maybe some of the clients that you've seen, and even maybe from my experience, like what do you think makes interactions with in-laws so challenging?
So, I've thought about this quite a bit. Like the real answers to this question probably require a deep dive into psychology, and the psychology of relationships. And I'm no psychologist, okay? But I can offer here an experienced based opinion on this, okay? And you can take it or leave it. And this opinion is formed from both professional experience and personal experience. So we'll just caveat it with that. There are so many things going on in that relationship with in laws. So, my daughter just got married last year. So I can't, I have been the daughter in law. Okay. And I have also now been the mother in law. So I have seen this from both sides. Um, and I just want to say, when a child gets married, there is a real sense of loss
Mm.
from the parents' perspective. Um, and then there's the establishment of this marital relationship on the part of the couple getting married, which is not an easy task for any couple. Okay. So both sort of sides of the equation are experiencing some stuff that they have not experienced before. And frankly, there is not a clear roadmap to either side of this equation. And I'll talk about that in a second a little bit more. Um, I think that there's something that occurs within a parent when a child gets married or significantly couples, permanent coupling with a partner. Um, Again, the sense of loss. It can feel like a break in the family structure instead of an addition to the family structure.
Mm.
This can evoke sadness, even signs of grief, right? Shock, denial, anger, some depression, sense of loneliness from perceived separation. Some parents take it very hard, especially moms who are typically bonded most deeply with their children. I hope I don't get any flack about that from people. I'm just saying typically, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
Um, so when a child, let me just say, when a child goes off to college, we experience parts of this sense of loss. Most parents experience that, and we call it normal, right?
Mhm.
When a child leaves the home, an empty nest, we experience this sense of loss. We call it normal, and we now even have a term for it, empty nest syndrome, right? But when a child gets married and we experience this loss, we have no name for it. It's taboo to talk about. No one's talking about this. There's no syndrome, there's no there's no label, there's no term for it. So we struggle with even talking about it. It's not like we call up our best friend and say, I'm feeling really this great sense of loss. My son is getting married or my daughter's getting married. We call up our best friend and saying that, and we start barking at our soon to be uh, daughter-in-law or son-in-law, right? We go to those lower levels of energy because we don't understand and we're not talking about, and there's not on social media a support system for that I'm aware of for this. So we see parents exhibit some very strange behaviors during this period of time, and sometimes, during the engagement and even sometimes into the marriage. So we can look at this from a religious perspective and from a non-religious perspective, right? The religious perspective is kind of like pretty much easy to see, right? Because religious based ideas are some of the most deeply rooted beliefs in our belief system, right? And we can even view religious texts as a sort of like a storytelling portrayal of human nature, right? So these stories resonate deeply with people. And so the following of these texts and their teachings is very compelling. These texts have a lot to say about parent-child relationships. We have a very clear example in the Christian faith of what's supposed to happen when a man and woman marry. The Bible says very clearly that the man leaves his family and cleaves to his wife. So from the moment a baby boy is born, Christian parents believe, consciously or subconsciously, that the day is coming when some woman's going to steal their son away from them, because that's what the Bible tells them is going to happen, right? Now, when we take this literally and to an extreme, this can initiate a caustic relationship between the boy's parents and their future daughter-in-law. She could be viewed even as an enemy. And unless she takes great measures to placate his family's concerns, her every word and move is scrutinized, and the relationship is fragile at best. It can feel like walking on eggshells around these people. Okay. There's a very simple solution for believers. Okay. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that parents of sons must become enemies with their daughters-in-law. In fact, the Bible tells us repeatedly to love each other. So while a man might leave his family and bond with his wife, as any married woman would expect of her new husband, including those mother-in-laws, it never says that the love between parent and child leaves. It only says he must physically leave to start his own family and bond with or cleave to his wife. If that one shift in belief could occur, I think a lot of marriages would not have as much difficulty from in-laws. I can go on for days about this. Okay.
Oh, I will tell you right now that that's how my ex-husband's and my relationship was. And the mother was always in charge, and she had 3 sons. And so we always had to do whatever she wanted. And so that meant putting his family in front of my family. It was never sharing. It was very difficult for me. And I see my brother going through that right now. He's been married since, oh my gosh, 2015, 2016. And in the last 2 years, the mother-in-law has screamed at him saying, "You're trying to take my daughter away from me." And it's like, she's the last of your 4 daughters. She's the only one that lives out of state and has always lived out of state. She's an adult. There's all these things that my family were not raised religious, and we are raised very differently in a sense, which I'll get into it a bit. But one of the things that my brother struggles with is like, why can't we be our own independent family? Why do we constantly, why does she constantly have to have your mother around or your sisters around when I'm gone for a weekend? Why can't you self-parent or enjoy your own time? And
Yeah.
it's this really complex thing that my family just doesn't understand.
Yeah.
So we're very
Yep.
independent.
Yeah. I mean, I dub this queen bee syndrome
Oh,
when and I'll talk a little bit about this, but it's basically when a mother is used to being the center of her family unit. She, especially when it's all boys, right?
mm-hmm.
She's the queen, and she's got all the drones around, right? And so there's especially a difficulty, I think, there. But yeah, I mean, Molly, we could have 20 podcasts on
Oh, I
these
know.
these
That's
each
why
of
you're going to
these
come back in
topics.
the springtime.
I know. So let me just touch really quickly. So that what I mentioned was like the religious, like the
Mm-hmm.
real
Yes.
religious perspective. So let's get into like the non-religious perspective, all right? Because that's very real as well. All right. So there's several points to make here. So I'm gonna make a statement and then I'm gonna back it up with an example. Okay.
Love it.
So it's kind of a bold statement, but I think a lot of people will kind of say, yeah, that makes sense. So, uh, in my opinion, it's seen in American society historically as the man's responsibility to create his own homestead with his new bride. Now, your brother is trying to do that, right? And he's experiencing some pushback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you think of the American spirit, right? That frontiersman, adventurous, resourceful, progressive, moving forward, brave, striking out to move his family west, all of that. The modern, tamer version of this is simply a boy growing up, becoming a man with his own roof over his head, his own set of bills to manage, with his wife by his side, right?
Right.
Now, let me make a point very clear here. It's not that women can't do this. We
Correct.
certainly can, and we certainly do, and I did. I struck out on my own with my children. Like, again, I'm writing a book on this, okay? So, but where it's completely possible for women to do this, it's most definitely expected of
Right.
men to do this in American society. So I can drive this point home further with an example of like a woman in her 70s who never left home, took care of her parents and the household for her aging parents. And while we might judge on such a woman and even apply certain labels to her, we're not shocked by a woman's choice to remain single, stay at home, take care of her parents for her whole life, right? It's plausible. It happens. It happened to a neighbor of ours. Like I could name her, but I will not do that, right? She was single her whole life. She stayed at home. She took care of her mother. Her mother passed away. She had no children, no man in her life. She stayed in the same house until she passed away. Okay. But if I were talking about a man doing this,
It'd be
right,
so taboo.
it would be so unnatural to us to hear of such a thing. Speaking of a man who never left home to take care of his parents for the rest of his life, never had a family of his own. The point I'm making is that men are expected to leave their parents physically, financially, and so forth in order to form his own family union or just be a bachelor for the rest of his life. That's fine too, right? So, another point is about, so with that in mind, right? The next point is about parents. When a child grows up and gets married, it really is a signal that childhood is gone and adulthood has arrived, right? There's no question at this point. It kicks off a time when we start to question our role as mom and dad. We wonder if and when we'll ever be needed again, for instance, right? I heard someone say that we get 19 years with our children, the first 18 before they go off to college or move out, and then cumulatively one more year's worth of time with them over the course of the rest of our life. That's if you add up all the visits, the holidays, the vacations, blah, 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 right? So, and that really hit me when I heard that. And I started kind of doing the math in my head, and there's a lot of truth to that statement. Maybe 20 years with some families, but it's not a lot of time, solid, steady time after they move out. So we struggle with our identity as a result,
Yeah.
right? Especially again, moms who have typically built so much of their life and their identity around their children. And I coach my moms, my mom clients, be very cautious about building your identity around your children, because when they leave, it's shocking, right? And you can tailspin at that point in time, which is not healthy. All of this expectation and identity crisis can spill over into that relationship with their child's spouse, right? We've got to blame somebody for losing our baby. So
Yeah.
sometimes we blame the person that they end up with. All right. And the next thing I want to talk about is really something you touched on, and I kind of mentioned as the queen bee. And this may make some moms very upset, but this needs to be talked about. I'm going to be a little controversial here. This is specifically about mothers of sons. There seem to be many mothers of boys who cannot let go and
Mm.
go so far as to make life very difficult for the girlfriend, the fiance, or the wife. The mother of a son who can't let go can see that his love interest as a threat to her relationship with her son. No one seems to be talking about this, Molly. And there is so much to say here.
Oh, I
Um,
agree on that.
my ex marriage, my previous marriage, this was such an issue. Okay. So mothers raise their sons. This is my theory. Okay. So I'm going to caveat it with, this is my theory. Mothers raise their sons to be the perfect man in her eyes. Her son may be the one man in her life she is nearly guaranteed who will love her unconditionally for the rest of her life. Now, this can result from women with daddy issues, difficult relationships with their brothers, if she had any, and poor quality romantic relationships with the men in her life. So she spent years with possibly the first and only male in her life who truly bonded with her. And understandably, that is very hard to let go of.
Oh, yeah. When you were saying it, I was like, well, my mom and my brother don't have that type of issue. But at the same time, I can see it with my ex-husband's family.
Mhm.
I can't see it 100% with Brad and his mom, only because like I haven't been around to see that dynamic when the pandemic, we started dating when the pandemic was going on. So it was also a
Mhm.
different layer,
Right.
but I have seen it with my friends. I have seen it with clients. My ex-husband's example, you know, to drop everything for his mom when it's like, hi, I need help too for something was
Mhm.
very, very frustrating. And then the
Mhm.
same thing, like if he really needed help, did he want help from me? No, he wanted it from his mom. And
Right.
it's really strange to be in a relationship
Yeah.
with someone that when
Yeah.
he's upset or he's crying or something bad happened, that he instantly wants to call his mom versus we're talking about it with me when it's like, oh, you had an issue with your work. You don't know if you're going to be able to have a job later. They're talking about layoffs. Why are you calling your mom? We should be talking about these things to prepare financially for our marriage and our house and all these things.
Yep.
Nope. And it's like, no, this is ridiculous. And I feel like, sadly, when I coach women around this about when they want to be marrying a man like that, it kind of gets into this next area that I know it's also kind of controversial. It is an opinion that I have. But I was raised differently than majority of my friends, previous partners, and my husband. Like my family is not my top priority. It's my personal happiness and satisfaction. That's what my parents raised us to do. So once married, your family is your significant other, and then your
Yep.
children, if you decide to choose to have any, which becomes your family priority. Your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, they come second,
Mm-hmm.
always. And the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of this allows you to actually not have to show it. So like my husband has like a family, his dad's not doing so well. So it's like, if we had issues in our relationship dynamics, I would be like, no, you're staying here with me, or we have this going on, instead of being like, our relationship is solid. Go spend time, of course, with your dad, your family, do the things that you need to do.
Yep.
Because when you choose your partner as your number one, no one else really sees that there is a priority shift ever.
Right. That's right.
My thing is when I've had issues in my past with my ex-husband and such, and when I see it with my clients, um, and I know you're going to be, I don't know, I actually don't know what you're going to say, but like my ex-husband constantly chooses family over me or whatnot. And the same thing with certain clients. Like how I have helped my clients through this situation is probably really different than what you might say. So what would you say? I mean, maybe it's not choosing, maybe it's learning how to set boundaries, but what are the things that you would say a woman would need to work on with her husband in order to work through these complex and maybe touchy situations?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you said it really well. Here's the idea, right? When you get married, so religious texts aside, the concept is valid, right? When you get married, you both cleave to each other. Like you bond. Without a marital bond and that being your priority and that being it, like number one, you don't have a marriage.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, Christine. That is perfect.
You don't have a marriage. You have a relationship where you went through the process of putting on the white dress and exchanging rings and having the nice big party that was extremely expensive, and everyone witnessing you saying these things to each other, but apparently they weren't genuine.
Mm.
Because really what you're saying to each other, and it kills me some of the vows people come up with these days. I promise to make you peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when you're sick. I mean, that's sweet and cute, but could we please really look at marriage as what it really is meant to be, which is saying to each other, you're it. For the rest of my life, you're my person.
Yeah.
And come hell or high water, we will make this work. Now, you can go into a marriage with one person feeling and thinking and believing that, and the other person who does not, that marriage is not going to work out.
Nope.
Chances are, unless that person who does not feel that way has a massive change of heart deep within themselves
And takes the actions after that. That's the
and
next
takes the
thing.
appropriate, exactly, they have to make the changes necessary. You cannot have one person towing the line of a marriage. It is a two-person job. It is meant to be a two-person job.
Yeah.
If you've got one person who's in it and one person who's well, maybe let's see how it goes, right? Let's see. No, it's not going to work. And I would bet you any marriage that has failed, that's at the when you break it down, that is at the absolute root of what went wrong. One person really was not in it.
Yeah. I definitely
Um,
can see how that would be. And it's like, I
yeah,
tell this to my clients all the time, teamwork makes the dream work. And a lot of my listeners are ambitious women or have been former athletes. And it's like, you've had that one person, and no matter if you played t-ball or softball, or you actually, had a college sport, that one teammate that didn't give a care in the world to be on the team. Mom and dad put them on the team. They just wanted to run around the soccer field and then just be like, screw it, I'm going to lay here. Like, those are the people that if you are an ambitious woman, you're like, why are they here? Yeah. I want to win. I want to go for it. And unless you have a partner has that same ambition or the same desire of that type of relationship, it's never going to work deep down. Yeah. You have to be in it to win it for the whole relationship, for the marriage of the two of you, so that everyone else can see you as one. And actually what's wonderful when that happens is you get to lead by example when other people might want to then have maybe your ideal marriage like yours,
I mean, I'm very blessed. I've got someone who's just as much in it as I am, full bore together. Thank God. Like, it took me 35 years to find him, but I found him, thank God. One of the things that I wanted to say is, when you have a situation where, let's say in your example, and in fact, in my past example of marriage, where that mother-in-law, mother-son bond is taking precedent over the marital bond. Those marriages, as I said, they will not work. That mother is going to win, but she's only going to win that first round, because until the boy grows up and becomes a man and addresses this issue with his mother, his relationships will fail. And young women today, I think this is kind of comes into play as well. Young women today, they're more and more, thankfully, are not putting up with this.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's contributing to this, what I see as a very unfortunate and unfavorable result of this whole dynamic. But it's this going no contact trend that's out there, right? In unprecedented numbers. I mean, I am hearing so many women talking about how they are not permitted to see their grandchildren. And we have, grandmothers, right, who are coming to me with, the daughter-in-law won't let me see the grandchild. My son won't let me see the grandchild. My daughter, and her husband have, kind of cut me off. And we've not ever really heard of this in the numbers that we are seeing this happen. I'm hearing it everywhere. Like in the last 3 to 5 years, this is becoming a thing. And it's not, in my opinion, it is not the solution. There is an underlying relationship issue here that is obviously not being dealt with, worked on, or resolved, right? So it's just easier somehow to people now to just go no contact than to try to work out their relationship issues. And unfortunately, who suffers are the children of these no contact situations. Now, let me just throw this in, okay? Because I'm not talking about parents who are, or grandparents or parents who are sincerely, truly toxic and with issues, right? Wherein it is truly best for the health of that family, those children, the grandchildren, to go no contact. There are legitimate cases where that is the answer, unfortunately, but that is the answer, because these people are extremely toxic. Okay. And so we're not going to get into all of the personality disorders and everything that's out there, but there are cases where I do say to people, you know what, maybe in this case, it sounds like this is the best thing for the child, because this person is just out to hurt and destroy. And that's beyond what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the realm of normal people here on this,
Right.
in this conversation. Um, you talked about a little while ago, mothers of daughters. This is the woman who has been the brunt of all mother-in-law jokes historically, right?
Yep.
It's never been the mother of the son. The mother of the son evolving as being problematic is seemingly a new phenomenon. New meaning in the last, I don't know,
Decade or
30, 40
so.
years, right?
Okay.
Few decades, right? Um, but the mother of the daughter is the brunt of all old mother-in-law jokes of old, right? And she has been portrayed, in TV shows, in, social media, wherever, jokes, books, you know, as the woman who sort of runs her daughter and runs her daughter's household, much to the distress of the son-in-law, right? Now, out of respect for his wife, he might try to pacify this mother-in-law for a while. Then eventually he'll jab back. And then this puts the wife in this position of having to mediate the relationship between her mom and her husband, which is never a good place to be, right? In all of the cases I've mentioned that we've talked about here today, talking it through or getting some relationship coaching is highly recommended. And if that does not work, therapy is the answer.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there that um, I truly believe that most, again, aside from the highly toxic or the disturbed individuals, right? Um, most relationships can be saved.
Yeah. I think communication is, well, actually, real quick before we dive into one more question here, I feel that communication is very important, but I think clarity, having
Mhm.
clarity about what the issue may be for you and where that's coming from is really important to bring to the table. Because sometimes when people do communicate, they are um, forcing it in a different way than they would if it was their own parents, maybe, where it's like, oh, well, your mother always does this. Well, it's like, okay, well, how am I seeing this? Like, what lens am I seeing this through? Let's have clarity
Yeah,
about what might be bothering me. Where does that come from so that I can actually be constructive in my conversations? One thing I do think that you brought up that's very good to say is that, you do mention therapy. When I think about this, if I see it from certain people in my life and their perspective, I think the mothers would benefit for some therapy, because as we get older, we get really resistant to change.
yeah,
And my parents are, they kind of now have like really gotten into change because things have happened in their lives. But for people when things
yeah,
have been really steady for a long time and they aren't used to it, I think any person should just give therapy a try, because you never know
yeah,
how that's actually going to unlock something for you that's going to
yeah,
greatly impact your future relationships that maybe you didn't realize you were really needing some work around. But like you
yeah.
said, relationship coaching, learning how to have those conversations, which kind of leads me into like, what are some of the coaching programs that you have that maybe help with those conversations or just help relationships in general?
Yeah. So I've developed three coaching programs thus far specific to relationships. I have ideas for others as I'm writing, as I continue to write, more ideas come. Oh, this would make a great workshop, or oh, this would make a great program. but let's talk about the ones that I have. So the first one I ever developed, which is up and running, is called Divorcing with Confidence, Courage, and Dignity.
Mm.
It's a proprietary system I created, and it was designed for women who are struggling with moving forward in their life pre, mid, and or post divorce. It could also be adapted for men, but I did kind of gear it to women. So this system really helps clients make the transition from married to not married with the confidence to do what they must do, the courage to move forward with their dignity intact. It's a 4-phase system that helps you reclaim your identity, redefine your family identity, raise your confidence, courage, and dignity while dealing with the pressures, commitments, and struggles of divorce and the changes that it absolutely will bring. And helps you create a life plan for your next 1 to 5 years and move into living your best life after divorce. The next program was a natural sort of sequel to my Divorcing with Confidence, Courage, and Dignity system. And it's called the Rockstar Single Mom Program. And this proprietary program is specifically for single mothers who want to raise the children they've always dreamed of raising, even though they now find themselves doing it alone or mostly alone, which was not part of their original plan. So the program is about creating the tone, atmosphere, and energy in your home and in yourself that will set the stage to help you raise amazing children into profound adults. So many divorced parents give up or think it's impossible and let go of all of their dreams of raising wonderful kids when divorce strikes. And I say, don't you dare give up on that dream, and don't you dare give up on your children.
Right.
When my marriage dissolved, I poured myself into my kids. They're now in their late 20s and early 30s, and I am incredibly proud of who they are now and who they are becoming. Um, I've taken positive parenting from the perspective of a single mother, which is different than two-person parenting, and put it into this program. Um, my third program, which is still kind of in the works, but it's getting there, is called the Mama Drama Program. This, again, proprietary program I created is specifically for women who have struggled in their relationship with their own mother,
Mm.
and that is affecting their life now, specifically as they are becoming mothers. It helps these women understand their past, teaches them how their past is informing their present, and helps them create a better future. The focus of this program is on breaking their generational cycles so
Mm.
as to help prevent taking or tainting their future generations with past struggles and trauma. And as I've said, I've got more ideas in the works. I'm continuously creating content, but um, and that I hope that will help people experience life in a more joyful way.
Oh, wow. All those programs sound fabulous. And I can actually think of a few people that I could be like, hey, you need to check this out when Christine gets this launched or this program already, because they are so needed. And the work that you helped me accomplish personally was so fabulous that I would definitely recommend anyone working with you, Christine.
Thank you
So as
so
long as
much.
you like them, I mean, we all have to go through and make sure we like the
I mean,
client.
we have to make sure there's a fit, right,
Yep.
in both directions. But yes, thank you so much. You're so generous. I really appreciate that.
Of
Yeah, I
course.
mean, these programs are really, birthed from a lot of my experiences, both again, personally and professionally. Some of these experiences I have, had dipped my toe in. Some of them I was neck deep in.
Mm.
Um, and some of them were really from when you work with clients, you learn so much about people and relationships and the heart of the human being. It's just such a uh, I am so blessed to do what I do, and to help people every day. I think it's my calling, and I'm just so grateful that I'm doing what I think I am here to do at this point in my life. So
Right. And think about how we wouldn't be able to help other women through the struggles that we went through, because it's like, oh, it's not that we know all the answers, but we're there to be that biggest support system
yeah,
and advocate for them as they do move
yeah,
through, and
yeah,
maybe take the shortcut that we wish we would have seen, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, my divorcing with confidence, courage, and dignity program. I have a website for that, and I say right on there, like, this is the system I wish I had when I was going through what I was going through, because
Yeah.
it was you know a toxic situation. And so yeah, so having that experience of having been through it, um, it's priceless, really. You know, there are many people who are very blessed, and they have no understanding of what it feels like to be divorced, or have gone through a
Right.
divorce, or to have visitation or shared custody, or uh, over with children involved. Like, that's it's if you've never been there. Yes, I think people can coach many different topics, but it really helps to have a coach who has been in those shoes, gets it. You don't even have to explain. Like, yes, it's just understood, what that entails, and what that's about. So, yeah. Yep.
Well, Christine, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to let the ladies know where they can find you? I mean, I'm going to be including all the links of yours in the show notes, but anything
Sure.
that you wanted to say before we close out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, people can find me several different ways. My main website is ChristineConteCoaching.com, and I know you're going to have that spelled out for folks. For the Divorcing with Confidence, Courage, and Dignity system, there's a whole separate website for that, and you can go right to divorcecoachingsystem.com. Both of those websites give people the best way to contact me through a free, no strings attached, 30-minute discovery call. It's the best way to uncover, like, what's going on, what you're looking for, and whether or not I'm the coach that is a good fit for you and your situation. I'm also on Facebook at Christine Conte Coach. I'm on Instagram at Christine Conte Coach. And finally, my email address is info@christinecontecoaching.com. And I know you'll have all of that spelled out for people. Thank you so much, Molly.
You bet. Thank you so much for being here, Christine. I love this. And yes, we are going to be doing some more podcasts together. And for the ladies that are listening, if you have a topic, or if there was something that we shared today in the podcast episode, you can go to my website and submit a topic, include the information or something you thought that you really enjoyed from this podcast, so that I can bring Christine back on and we can discuss that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Seriously, what an episode. Christine had a bag of gold nuggets that she continuously dropped for us. I hope you were able to absorb all of her wisdom. We could have done so many more episodes together around these topics. So, like I mentioned, submit a topic on my website by going to reinventingthearena.com/podcast to do so. That will also be in the show notes. Mention, that you would like Christine to come back on the show to talk about something maybe more in depth, or who knows, maybe our conversation sparked something for you. Regardless, submit the topic as soon as possible. Also, if you loved this episode just as much as I did, please leave a written review on Apple Podcasts or leave a star rating on Spotify. It really helps me grow the show and impact other women like yourself. You can also share it out to a friend, a family member, or even out on social media. You can also subscribe or follow the show so it saves to your podcast library. All right, lady, have a wonderful day, and I will chat with you on Thursday.